Attending an Italian wedding meal tasting before your wedding is a really big deal, and it's an absolute must do if you're having an Italian wedding. But how do you prepare and what do you look out for when you're there? Ciao, I'm Lucy. I'm an Italian wedding planner and the founder of Lista.com, where we support thousands of couples planning their Italian weddings. A caterer is one of the most important parts of a wedding day, if not probably the most important supplier that you will hire on your Italian wedding planning journey. They affect not only the food, obviously, but a lot of other elements. They literally affect every single part of the wedding day and how everything flows on the day. They are responsible for so many things, many of them that you probably won't have even thought of. So today we're talking about the tasting, and let's imagine you've picked your caterer. You know who they are, but maybe before you actually book, you want to make sure what type of tasting you get, because different caterers offer different versions of wedding tastings. There tend to be 3 different styles. The first is that you choose your different courses. So you'll get probably some antipasti, the different drinks, the different wines. You might choose 2 primi and 2 secondi. You will have chosen those from the long list of the menu, and you're trying to pull together your actual wedding menu to taste all in one go, but you might have a couple of options, so you can, for example, look at the 2 different secondis and choose which one you want to go with your full meal. And then at the end you tend to try maybe some desserts or the wedding cake. The second type of tasting is when you're just served generally what their food is. So you might still have antipasti, drinks, pasta, secondi, but they are just a general menu. They are not the food that you may well choose to have on your wedding day. This is just to give you an idea of the type of catering that's on offer and the quality of the food that you're going to have. And then finally, there's where you choose your exact menu, and that's all you taste. So the exact number of courses, the exact menu that you're going to have, the exact wines, and you taste all of that at your tasting. It's really important to understand this because different people have different expectations and requirements. So if you go to your tasting and you're not able to taste the things you thought you would, you might be disappointed. It's really important to understand this before booking, because most caterers won't negotiate on this. Their tasting is when it is, where it is, and how it is, and they're probably not going to be flexible on that. So before you go to your tasting, you need to get clear on a few things. The first one is the cost of the tasting. So if you haven't actually booked your caterer yet, your tasting will probably cost you between 50 and 150 euro per person. Then if you book the caterer, this cost is taken off your total bill. Other caterers just include this in the cost. It's free. Maybe if you bring additional people, like you've got parents or close friends or family joining you on your tasting, they may have an additional cost per person. The second thing to do is get clear on who you're going to meet. I think it's really important to meet your actual catering manager when you go to your wedding tasting. This is because they're the person that you're trusting to kind of manage everything on the day. And if you've got a nice rapport with them, if you trust them, then you're going to feel really calm and confident in the rest of your wedding planning. You also know that they know you, they've answered your questions directly, and they're going to remember you. They're going to remember what's important to you, and this will feed all the way through to your wedding day. The third thing to do is obviously choose your tasting menu. So if you're given options and you can construct your menu, then choose that and communicate it. There's usually a deadline given, and you can send it over to your caterer. So what do you do at your tasting? Well, the main thing to do is just enjoy it. You are going to have some amazing food and drink. You're going to have a big meal, so sit back and enjoy it. It's a good idea to take your menu with you. You'll probably be provided with the menu as a printout, so you can take notes. If not, maybe as a backup, you could just take it yourself, because it may feel a little bit silly, but actually taking notes is really important. You are probably not going to remember what you've tasted. You're not going to remember the details, and you may not remember the drinks either. So it's a really good idea to just make a few notes. You know, I tried this and it's a no, or that's a maybe, but maybe it needed a bit more of this. Just go there, pretend you're a master chef, write it all down, you won't regret it. Also take photos. So as you'll serve different wines, different dishes, take photos, because a bit like when you look for your venue, when you see things, it's really hard when you come away to remember exactly what you saw. So just take as many photos as you need to. You're going to have loads of time after the tasting, in the build up to your wedding, to talk to your caterers. They can answer all of your questions then. But no one can argue that this is a very good opportunity to ask the questions that you have at the moment, because everyone's busy. It's harder to get people on emails. While you've got people in front of you, ask them the questions that you have. Don't feel embarrassed. Don't feel like you can't do it. Get in there. And finally, at your tasting, just be really honest with the feedback that you have. Like if you don't like a dish, just say. They'll understand your palate, and they will be able to recommend other things that you might like that are different to that dish. If there's something in a dish that you don't like, just say. They'll note it down, they'll take it out, they'll replace it. Italians love feedback in the moment. Being able to talk about it honestly with the person there is a great thing to do Following up afterwards is actually more tricky. And finally, remember that anyone can do a good tasting. You know, it's like being in a restaurant serving just the two of you. It's very easy to cook that way. It's a good question to ask if the chef is going to be the same on your wedding day or who the chef is actually going to be. And one of the most important things you can do when looking at wedding catering is just get reviews, whether it's from other planners, whether it's from couples. Really understand if that tasting translated into an excellent service and that same quality level of food. Now, on Lista.com, we've got a catering section. There's not a huge amount of caterers in there, but that's because not all caterers are good. As I said at the start, there's so many responsibilities that come into being a wedding caterer, way beyond just the food. So knowing that you can trust a caterer to deliver above and beyond what you're expecting is absolutely key, and that's why we've got our La Lista directory. For loads more advice on how to pick your caterer, what caterers actually do, how to build a menu, and so much more on this subject, head to my membership, The Club, and get loads more support from me while you're planning your Italian wedding. I'll see you next time.